Well, good morning to you, and welcome to Talking Baseball Australia. Dan Vaughn with you. Paul Morgan will be with you in just a moment as well. Um, got a little breaking news for you. Going to get that to you. Yeah, we got the volume working, so just double checking. I was actually walking out the door for New Year's Eve in North America, and all this kind of is snowballed the last hour or so, and it just got bigger and bigger. So Paul and I went to break on, and I believe Paul's going to join me in just a moment to give you guys the breaking news, but he was out there. But here we go. He's going to join us right now. I'm going to bring him to the broadcast. His partner is actually walking the dog, I believe, or at least he was walking the dog. There we go. Good morning to
Yeah.
you.
Morning,
Walking the dog.
DV. Happy New Year. Walking
Happy
the
New Year to
dog.
you too. Sunny, beautiful day in the West. It's rainy, cold
It
in North
is.
America. But I wanted to have you on as we want to break this news. We found out that after last night's ball game there in Victoria, the Perth Heat flew on to Brisbane, and
Yes.
the series will not continue in Victoria. Are we really shocked about this, partner?
No, I think once the WA, so just to wind back clock for those who aren't aware, so the WA border or West Australian government changed Victoria from the category of a low risk COVID state to a medium risk COVID state at about 1:30 local time yesterday. So DV, it was inevitable that it was probably going to happen, but in the end it happened, and like the Heat have done the right thing in terms of quarantining and getting back and whatnot to WA. They had to leave Victoria, and we've got to go to Brisbane anyway, and hopefully you'll get through the Brisbane hub and the South Australia hub.
Yes, that's the plan. Now, what we don't know is that obviously this thing's fluid, and this has not been announced yet. But this is actually, I can tell you, I have multiple sources. This is not just one person saying, "Oh, by the way, the Heat did fly out this morning, 4 a.m. wake up call, and then onto the airport out of
Yep,
Victoria and on to Queensland." So that's a fact. Now, how
yep.
how many went? I have no idea. Did the Aces go? I have no idea. There's been no announcement at all from anyone. But I thought it was important enough news for the New Year day over there on a slow news day in sport that we might want to get this out there. It's a pretty big deal because you're expected to tune into a broadcast tonight that I don't believe is going to happen unless we're totally wrong here. And unless we're being duped, which I don't believe we are, we believe that that's the case. I also believe, now this is not official, but I'm under the understanding that the Heat will basically be laying low until like the eighth or ninth to continue their season. That's what I understand as well. So that's
Well,
you hear
yeah.
anything different?
No, I'm not hearing anything different, but that would line up with then the hub in Brisbane, and it also line up with the fact that, like, I think what the Heat are trying to do is, I guess they were going to be away for 14 days anyway. It's imperative that they're 14 days and not in Victoria, because I think once you come through the actual the security gates here at the airport, they're going to ask you the question: have you been in Victoria or have you been in New South Wales over the past 20 odd days? So, oh, sorry, 14 days. So I think it's imperative for the guys who work, particularly, you think that Dan Schmitz and Tim Kennelly's, these guys have all got full-time jobs here. It's imperative that they, in actual fact, don't quarantine, because then on top of the time they're away, and also young families, etc., but on top of the time that they're away, they've also got on top of that another 14-day quarantine. So that's very much where, from a heat perspective, you need to avoid that quarantine, because, and also the enormous cost that quarantine comes
Right.
with as well.
Now, and let me, for you folks in North America, basically, this happened, as Paul was mentioning yesterday. Was there a set time, partner? I didn't quite catch the news. Was there a set time they had to be on the road and out of Victoria by a certain time? Was there anything that to
I
that to that?
think you had to be, as the clock struck midnight last night, you had to be back in WA to avoid quarantine from Victoria. But there is no quarantine from Queensland at the moment, so that's where the Heat have headed. So there's no quarantine in Queensland and no quarantine in South Australia at the moment in Northern Territory. So their options there is in New South Wales and Victoria, so their options were pretty thin. But I assume they've done that to kind of get through. But throws a big question mark, DV. What happens in the end with the season? As every corner we've turned at the moment, DV, it's just been it's just been roadblock after
Yeah,
roadblock. So it's just been
yeah,
look. But I was thinking about it the other day. I was thinking about it last night. I mean, look, at the end of the day, they've given it a go, and I think that's the bigger thing. I mean, I think there's a lot of chat about perhaps we should have banged the season in September, October, and maybe in some ways maybe in hindsight that is the right decision. But at the same time, they've had they've tried to put the season on, they've tried the best they can, and unfortunately for the ABL, like every single turn they've taken has been hasn't like you think about it from the first series in up in for the Aces in Sydney, they had to hightail out of town. You've got Canberra not coming to Perth. Then you've got your next problem, the Perth and Melbourne juicy 4-game series, and that's all over after one game, and it's just so now hopefully with maybe that Queensland hub, and look, we sort of alluded to it on the show yesterday, DV, but maybe that hub is what becomes the entire season. Maybe that's what it is. It's just that sprint up in Queensland or South Australia. We know that in South Australia they've sold about 80% of their tickets to the hub,
yes.
so things are going pretty well there. But I mean, I guess if you are, this is where I guess maybe also with the Melbourne Aces, if they want to play in a hub that's potentially in Perth, which is what we've floated, they need to get out of Victoria as well, because otherwise they're going to have quarantine issues as well. So
And that was one piece of information that was given to me, but I can't confirm that
yeah,
the Victorians are going to head out behind the Heat. I have no idea if that happened. That was being discussed, but I have no verification that happened. As a matter of fact, they posted a player of the game from last night about 10 minutes ago. It was Dan
yeah,
McGrath, who pitched really well for the
yeah,
Aces in a great matchup last night. Which
yeah,
again, this is the frustrating part. There's so many great things going on. We can't talk about him. We don't get a chance to talk about it. We can. And all
yeah,
these last minute, that's another thing. But I guess what I'm going to get to is we believe that for that was a possibility. The Aces might have left town as well. We also have a piece of information we cannot verify, but we do believe that the Heat will be able to return home and finish out the season with a mini hub of some sort in the West,
yeah.
which is something we've talked about. You talked about yesterday. We believed that was the case as well. So those are all the items. But what we do know is the Heat did go to Brisbane at a 4 a.m. wake up call, is what I've been told by multiple people have told me this. This is not just a one deal, that the multiple folks have said this and they've headed out, and that's the situation. So no game notes for you folks tonight, Paul. That's I'll join
No,
New Year's
you
Eve.
saved. You saved. And look, I mean, I didn't get to catch much of the game. I was going to watch the replay today, but I didn't get to catch much with New Year's festivities last night. But yeah, it's just a shame because as we said, that 4-game series was going to be, and a 1-0 pitcher's duel. You had Worth and McGrath both go
Yep.
incredibly well last night, and it was all set up for such a incredible series, and that's and
Well,
unfortunately that won't.
yeah,
Unless they move it to Brisbane and they play in
which
Brisbane,
is
but
possible. That also is something we were that's why I thought the Aces might head that way to resume things. But as far as I know, it won't be tonight. But that's a
mm,
possibility. And you're right. The Stars shown last night. You had a stolen base for Colin Willis, who actually stole a base to set up the winning run. The Heat struck out 16 times, the most they've been struck out since last December 6th against Melbourne. There at that ballpark. 18
yep,
that night, 16 last night. But the Heat had some stars too. The Heat offense actually mustered 5 hits. Grant Witherspoon, the Rays prospect, had 3 of those, going 3 for 4 to double last night. So there was a lot of good things to talk about, but
yeah.
unfortunately, that's what we got. So
That's not what we're going to talk about, but yeah,
right,
but it's not the headline. But I said it the other, like the opportunities for games are a premium, but it's just so unfortunate because again, like there's so many good prospects this year. There's so many good things happening that it's just unfortunate that we can't quite. And I think now maybe your last option, and obviously this is where it's going anyway. But your last option is you have to hub the season because it just you couldn't possibly risk it anymore just playing series home and away like they've been doing it. It's just because they've all gone up in smoke.
and it's something we've talked about going back as far as August. these things are on the fly. There'll be more changes surely, and this is something that we knew. If you're going to go walk down this road of playing ball, that this stuff might happen, and yeah, so that's you're right. You're right on. But it looks like a beautiful day in the West. That blue sky is unbelievable.
It is a beautiful day in the West, in the mean streets of Florida at the moment. DV just walking Hudson. There he is there, but
There he is, Huddy. How you doing, Huddy?
it's going to be a nice sort of 36 degree days Celsius here, so around topping out around 100. But yeah, there's that old West blue sky, DV, that I know you're missing at the moment. So.
I am missing it, mate. Well, I'll let you go, but I thank you for jumping on. I thought that was good, big that we jump on here. You can follow us both on Twitter and, of course, our Talking Baseball Australia Twitter. And right here, the updates we'll also post here on Facebook Live, mate. So anyway, appreciate it. Happy New Year to you and the family.
Yeah, well, this would have to be, I think now, of all the firsts we've done, DV, a live show in 2 different years. I mean, that's another one to, here I am in 2021, you're back there in 2020, so it's...
Who said time travel's not possible, right? I mean, it's very possible, right? Possible.
Exactly.
Yeah,
all right, have yourselves a good New Year, DV. Happy New Year.
All right, mate. All right, happy New Year to you. There he goes, Paul Morgan with the breaking news there. Shane as well, missing that blue sky. I know he does. A couple of things. A couple of folks said, going back here just to get your responses real quick. Matt, good to see you. Stuart said Aces fans not been told there's no fixture. Have not been told there's no fixture tonight yet. The opposition left the state. Yeah, that's frustrating. SG says to get into these hubs, Canberra, Sydney, and potentially Melbourne are going to have to go 14 days hotel quarantine. That's too expensive for those clubs. I do believe that there was some budgeting mixed in post, I don't know, a certain date in December for this possibility, but I can't confirm that. But I would think that was out there. But still, you're right. I mean, you're looking at $80,000 to quarantine an entire ball club, so that's a hefty bill. Let's see here. Stuart, yeah, great game last night. It really was a great game. I had a chance to watch it again on the replay today. Tonks, good to see you, mate. Hope you're doing well, Tonks, you legend, you. Happy New Year to you and your family. Taylor, yes, missing Perth for sure, or than Oregon. And Phil, the news, Phil, in case you guys missed it, what we broke on to tell you is that we can confirm that the Perth Heat flew to Brisbane overnight. They are actually in Brisbane now. The series tonight in Melbourne will not continue. They may pick that series up in Brisbane, perhaps today. We don't know that for sure, but we do know the Heat are not in Brisbane. They left last night at a 4 a.m. wake-up call. This comes from not just one person. This is multiple sources telling me this. This is not something that we can just sit on. You know how we are at Talking Baseball Australia. We like to get our facts straight. We like to make sure we don't just jump the gun. But unfortunately, we've known this. I've known this for the better part of, since the sun came up in the States, which would have been mid-morning. They actually left the hotel in Victoria at almost lunchtime in the States. It's now just past 5 Central Daylight Time in North America. That's been several hours. That's been a meal ago for you folks. So we're fairly confident this is a lot reliable. We expect the league will make an announcement shortly. They've been very good about that. But there was no reason just to sit on this any longer. But in case you missed it, Paul and I are very confident with multiple sources telling us that the Perth Heat did travel to Brisbane overnight, an early morning flight, early New Year's Day flight to Queensland from Victoria, and the club is there. At the moment, we believe they'll resume the series at some point this weekend, and if not, they're not scheduled to play till the 8th or 9th, around that time. There is some discussion that might change, but I guess we'll be updating you as we find out more. Again, on our Twitter page, Talking Baseball Australia Live, as well, right here. Our Facebook page, and you can. There you go, right there, put on the screen for you. There is our place to follow us right there. How awesome was it to watch? Gavin, I couldn't agree with you more. It was great to watch. I watched the first inning last night, went to bed over here at 2 a.m. and then got up and watched the remainder of the game, or the replay of the game. It was so cool to see a good crowd, good energy, and just a great cracker of a game, as Stuart said a moment ago. But yeah, I totally agree with you. Very cool to see that. But there you go. You can follow us right there on Talking Baseball Australia on Facebook, and of course our Twitter pages right there. And that'll give you updated on the news and what happens going forward. Because this New Year's Day in Australia, New Year's Eve in North America, we're all going to be kind of in a probably silent news stretch for a couple of days. We did expect to have an announcement coming to you probably on Monday or Sunday evening in North America, Monday over in Australia, but because of the Victoria situation and the border closing in Western Australia, it pushed all this up way fast. And we mentioned this on the show last night. So again, or actually yesterday morning for you last night. I got my days and nights mixed up. What time zone am I in? I'm in 2020. You guys are in 2021. But again, thank you for joining us here on Breaking News, here on Talking Baseball Australia Live, baseball's best mate. And again, follow us on Twitter. Again, Happy New Year to everybody. Again, a little Happy New Year to you. May your New Year plans be festive and be enjoyable wherever you're watching us around the globe. And of course, as I keep saying to y'all, and I say it every time, it's going to get better. And a lot of that responsibility falls on us to continue to be better. We can't control the pandemic and the things of that nature and the border closes. What we can control is be better fans, better people, and just show more love, more empathy. So a virtual hug to all you folks worldwide. Much love to all you baseball fans. Let's be better baseball fans tomorrow or today. Even the bad news today, let's keep going on. In case you missed it, again, the breaking news, the Heat did travel onward from Victoria to Queensland. They got one game in last night, a 1-0 loss to the Melbourne Aces. The Heat did pack up and traveled to Queensland overnight, or very early this morning, and they are now there in Queensland. At least the majority of the team is. I don't know if the entire club went. We do know the majority of the club is there waiting things out as the border was shut down over the last 24 hours from Western Australia and from Victoria. So there is your update right there. Again, thanks for joining me here. Let's roll that close for you. We always roll the close. Let's roll the close anyway. Have a great rest of your, you know what I didn't do? I didn't bring a breaking news sounder, but that's all good. Anyway, let's close with a little Talking Baseball Australia jam, and we'll see you guys next week on the show. And any updates we'll give you right here on Talking Baseball Australia Live. Baseball's best mate. For Paul Morgan, I'm Dan Vaughn. Happy New Year's. Much love to you guys worldwide. Hey, let's play some ball soon. We will, okay? God bless y'all.
Some peanuts and cracker jacks. I don't care if I ever get back for its root. Root for the puppy. If they don't win, it's a shame. For it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game. Let's get some runs!